I'm in the market for a new guitar, and with the help of some expert advice, we've narrowed it down to these three right here. Now, I'm going to be doing a series on all of these guitars, but today we're going to be focusing on this one. So we all buy guitars for different reasons, but lately, with a few minor exceptions, most of my acquisitions have been to help the process of recording here in my studio. So this purchase is going to be for a very specific application. So I approached my good friends at Long McQuade, that's Canada's largest musical instrument retailer with stores all across Canada and on the web at long-mcquade.com. Now, this is not a sponsored video, but they were gracious in allowing me to bring all of these guitars home so I can really dig in and try them out. I was having a conversation with Marco at the North York store that's on the northern border of Toronto, Canada, and he created this shortlist for me. Now, this video series is more about the process of buying a guitar and some of the considerations that I think are important. It's not so much a review about all these instruments, but we will get to know about these instruments and you will hear what I think about them. All right, so why don't we head over to Long McQuade. So we're here at the North York Long McQuade store, and we've got Marco here. We've seen a couple times on the channel now. Good to see you again, Marco.
Nice to see you too, Dan.
So we had a conversation in store about a week ago, and I presented him with a scenario. I've been experimenting with different sort of drop C tunings and higher gain tones. I recently put a high gain amp in my studio. And all the guitars that I currently have, more Gibson flavors, Sirs, more classic style guitars, I wanted to get into something more modern, and this is the man to talk to. So you had some ideas.
Yeah, so you presented me a budget in mind and specs in mind and a tone in mind. So I gathered together three options that I think you would like. They're all at different price points.
Well, this is something that, I've sort of been a little gun shy in terms of imports.
Yeah.
I generally lean to more American-made guitars. And when you come into a store, especially one like this, when you're offered with just a plethora of choices,
yeah,
it can be a little overwhelming to some people. And for me, since I'm getting out of my comfort zone,
yeah,
I'm really interested to see what you've put together.
Yeah, for sure, man. You want to go take a look at them?
Let's check it out.
Okay, awesome.
Buying a guitar is such a personal thing. I think it's like buying a pair of shoes. You really got to try it on and see if it fits. Good example is recently I'd been salivating over this particular Ibanez guitar that I saw online, but no one locally actually had one in stock. Now, by fluke, I was on a road trip with my family and it just popped into some random music store and there it was hanging on the wall. I was so excited to finally try it and I reached up to grab it, and the second it was in my hand, I just knew that it wasn't for me. It just proves, especially with a guitar, you got to try it on and see if it's right for you. All right, let's head back to Long McQuade and meet the three candidates.
Based on your specifications, I've narrowed down the list to these three instruments. They all sit at different price points, so it gives you an idea of what you can play with for your budget, but they all share a lot of common features. They all have 24 frets, they all have a really high quality nut, they all have a hardtail, and they all have humbucking pickups with a three-way and some type of multi-switching option for different types of voicings in the case of the Fishmans, and in this case, with the Seymour Duncans, you can split them. So they'll all be very good for tuning stability, all great for drop C tuning, all great for high gain heavy metal sounds. They're all pretty light as well, and those are like the main features that kind of put them together in terms of like what they share. So what we have here is the PRS Mark Holcomb signature. Mark Holcomb is a guitar player for this band called Periphery, very popular, I'm not going to use the D word, genre. Really good for high gain tones, and a lot of their songs are in drop C, so this is kind of tailor-made for that specification. Next up we have the Schecter SLS Elite. This is a fantastic instrument. It sits a little bit higher on the price point. I just thought it was a very good middle-of-the-road guitar between these other two options that has features that you don't normally see at guitars in this price point. And I'm a pretty big Schecter fanboy, bias aside, but very awesome guitar. And we've also got the Ibanez Axion Label in metallic gray finish. This guitar sits the highest of the three in terms of its price point, mostly due to the fact that it comes with an Evertune equipped system, which is very fantastic for tuning stability and for rhythm lead playing in general. I just want to stress that all of these instruments are not the newest, but they are the most appropriate for Dan's individual needs. Because we don't want to be swept up too much in the latest and greatest thing, like the Apple mentality when it comes to new iPhone products or anything like that. We just want to be able to recommend things that already exist that could really surprise you in the end for what you're looking for.
You know, that's such a great point, because as I'm shooting this, NAMM is going on and all the companies are showcasing their latest and greatest gear. It's an easy time to get sucked into all the excitement of all the new equipment. But the truth is, guitars like these ones, which have been in production for a few years, doesn't mean they're not relevant anymore. They're great instruments, and just because something is newer doesn't mean it's going to be right for you. For my money, I want to be able to try that guitar. I don't care if it's the newest one or last year's model. I got to feel it in my hand. So don't disregard it just because it's not the newest instrument, because it might actually be the one for you.
All right, Dan, so what I have here is the Mark Holcomb by PRS. This is the student edition model, so this is one of their import Indonesian guitars. To start off, we have some PRS branded tuners up here. They're non-locking at this price point. Graphite nut, that's cut very well. A wonderful 3-piece maple neck with an ebony fretboard with jumbo frets and a 20-inch radius. The neck profile is also a lot flatter than what you would find for traditional PRS guitars, as well as the back of the neck is a satin matte finish, which feels very beautiful and very smooth to fly up and down on the neck. You still have those same classic bird inlays that PRS is known for. I always found this bottom one kind of looks like a turtle, but I didn't know until recently that's actually like an owl, which is kind of a neat little thing. Top is like a quilted maple veneer. We have a hardtail proprietary PRS bridge system here. 2 Seymour Duncan Alpha Omega pickups. These are Mark's signature pickups. They're really fantastic for a myriad of sounds, especially for drop tunings. 3-way blade and a coil split on the tone. And you can definitely get a lot of cool sounds out of it, especially at the weight. A lot of modern guitars will tend to be a lot lighter because their bodies are a little thinner, or they come with more chambering or lighter body woods like ash or some type of mahogany substitute. And if you're a gig musician, this one comes with a gig bag. All PRS guitars come with some type of bag or casing to carry it around with. I think the Mark Holcomb will be a fantastic choice for you as a studio player because it has a huge range of tones with its coil splitting option for these 2 individual pickups. Very fantastic range of sounds you can get out of the Alpha Omega set that traditional humbucking pickups might not be able to deliver, in my experience anyways. It's been a very, very wonderful set of pickups to deliver a lot of studio sounds that you might be after that you can't get necessarily out of one guitar. So I'm really, really curious to see what your experience is going to be with its coil splitting features on these specific pickups.
So this PRS is a really interesting option. I can see why Marco selected it. Number one, it's spec'd out to my needs. It certainly should be able to deliver what I'm looking for in this next guitar. It's priced at the bottom end of these 3 guitars, but it's just worth noting that PRS has just released a newer version of this guitar, and it's actually a little bit more expensive, but this one was still in inventory. Save a little bit of money, nicely spec'd out guitar. It should still be a candidate. But I'm not buying this guitar just on price. I have to play it. And since this is a recording guitar, well, I spent some time recording it, and here's the results of that. So what do I think of the PRS Mark Holcomb SE? Now, I just want to say, and this is the challenge with the guitar reviews. I mean, we can talk about construction, build quality, and things like that, but ultimately, a guitar is a very personal thing, and I always recommend that you get your own hands on it. Now, since this is about my process, I want to share what I like about this guitar, what maybe I don't like so much about this guitar, and we'll see how it stands up to the other two once we get to it. So first and foremost, for an SE line guitar, this is a very well-built guitar. It looks beautiful. I mean, that beautiful top here. But nicely constructed guitar, some nice carve outs on the back. You got the belly cut up here. Very, very comfortable to play when you're sitting down, which I generally do here in the studio. But let's talk about the thing that I like most about this guitar, and that is the pickups. Now, since this is a recording guitar, that's going to be critical. I really want that modern sound to pair this with my Engel Powerball 2 over here, and these pickups certainly didn't disappoint. Ferocious pickups. Now, as a bonus, there's a lot of versatility here because you can split these pickups. So not only do I get good humbucking tones, I got single coil here. That means I can introduce some more clean tones. That's not something I was necessarily expecting from this guitar, but certainly going to be another check mark in the favor of this guitar because I have a lot of versatility with the pickups. I get what I want and I get a lot more. Why can't this be a guitar that I reach for? Just because it's, maybe not as expensive, maybe some of my main guitars. If it turns out that I like this guitar and it covers off a lot of ground, well, that certainly would be a bonus. So the pickups are definitely helping it in that direction. Now the neck, it's kind of interesting because it's a really nice neck, but it's kind of reminiscent of a couple of my other guitars. Some of my Gibsons with a fully finished neck, a little bit wider, not as chunky as, let's say, a 59 profile. A couple of my Gibsons have that sort of thick neck on them, a little bit smaller, but it's not the smallest neck. I was almost wondering if maybe I want a riff machine, a real fast neck. Not to say I'm ruling this one out, but just want to mention that it's feels a little bit wider to me somehow. But still very playable, very nice. That satin finish is nice. I mean, I don't like high gloss necks too much anymore because, you slide your finger on it here on the glossy part, kind of put the brakes on. But here, nice and smooth. So if you're playing a hot club, you get a little sweaty. You should move nicely. I mean, I do like exposed wood, but like I said, we're not ruling this out. Certainly, you got the ebony fingerboard, which is great. And the classic bird inlays is always nice on a PRS, especially on an SE model. It's certainly a bonus here. The down point for this guitar for me is the tuners. These are non-locking. I mean, once you've had locking tuners on your guitar, it's hard to go back. Now, this guitar is $400 cheaper than the next guitar on the list, so there's a lot of room to move here. If I want to upgrade these later, I'll still be well within budget, but I just want to know within the price point. Obviously, they had to make cuts somewhere, and one of the cuts they made here are these tuners. They're still pretty good. There's non-locking. That's something I would look to upgrade. I certainly am not going to rule out this guitar if ultimately it proves to be the right guitar for me, but just want to mention that's definitely something that I'd be looking to upgrade later on. But overall, nicely built guitar. Best part of this guitar, the pickups, neck, the jury is still out, and the one down point for me are the tuners. Well, there you have candidate one in the books in my pursuit for my new modern style guitar, the PRS Mark Holcomb SE. Would love your thoughts on this. Have you played this guitar before? Have you tried the new one? I'm just wondering about the differences between the two. Do you think it'd be worth spending a little extra money, maybe getting the new one? Really, it comes down to what feels good in your hands, but I'm just wondering what the differences are. If you have played it, let me know in the comments. Plus, if you have any questions at all, would love to hear from you. Next up, a really interesting candidate, and that is the Schecter C1 SLS Elite. I don't have a lot of experience with Schecter, and I've heard a lot of great things about this one. For a mid-price guitar, it's loaded with high-end appointments, and it's a very different guitar than I'm used to. So really excited to jump into this one. If you're watching this in real time, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. You'll be notified when that video drops. If this is sometime in the future, there is going to be a link to a playlist in the description. Links to all of the guitars in our lineup here, including the finale where I decide which one to purchase and why. So make sure to follow along or check those out. It's at this point I want to thank Long McQuade once again for just being so awesome and supporting this channel, providing all kinds of amazing gear so I can create these videos and share all of this great stuff with you guys. You can show them some love at long-mcquade.com. If you're in Canada, they have almost like 100 locations across the country. Make sure to drop in, especially Marco and the guys at North York. A big shout out and thank you to you guys once again. I really appreciate it. I always have fun when I pop in there. But if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you really want to support this channel, check the description. I've got all sorts of affiliate links, including a list of gear I have here in my studio, plus a whole bunch of essentials if you're looking to set up your own studio. Those links don't cost you anything if you're purchasing anything, but they kick back a little bit to the studio. It helps me bring more content like this to you guys, and I really appreciate that. If you want to do a deeper dive with me, I'm on Patreon. I have merch. It's all in the description. It all helps, and I really appreciate that. But the cheap and easy way to support this channel is to watch another video, and I've got one waiting for you right here. And remember, you don't need a band to rock and roll. I look forward to seeing you again in another video.